All right, guys, I'm here with Mr. Jordan Luhr, the famous Jordan Luhr.
Jordan Luhr.
We're going to be talking about the Gordon versus Saunders match. We'll also touch up a little bit on the updated matches that they have for who's number one. But we'll start with the Gordon and Saunders match. The first thing we're going to talk about is Jordan. Let's just talk about the athletes themselves, Josh and Gordon. Josh is from Australia, which is where we're from. Gordon, it kind of needs an introduction, but why is Gordon kind of deemed as this like the best guy in the world, the guy that kind of no one can beat at the moment?
I think Gordon, he's obviously a spectacle with his jiu-jitsu. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows he can beat everyone, especially with his most recent matches have all been who's number one in a rule set that's favored him to really show off his game. But I think he's really underrated in the way where historically he went and beat everyone in every rule set. He came out in EBI, which they say now it's the riskiest rule set where the worst opponent can defeat someone better than them. He beat everyone by submission in regulation. He was submitting ADCC champions. This is in 2016. Then he did ADCC, only lost to Felipe Pena. Got criticized for only being able to win in a certain rule set. Everyone called him out. He then went and proved them wrong by winning IBJJF Pans and Worlds.
Yeah.
He's done this consistently in his career. So I think that's really what makes him the greatest.
Yeah, and multiple weight divisions. I think, again, now people have criticism of Gordon only being able to beat these bigger guys. The guy's won 88, -9, and +9. I mean, as much as maybe I question a few things in Gordon's personal life, in terms of just the pure jiu-jitsu, if we look at it, what he's done is insane.
Yeah.
With the high sub rate, his ability to finish, and not just that, I feel like his ability to take some of these guys and make them look like childish. You know what I mean? That his style of jiu-jitsu is very like his pinning ability. He doesn't win by small margins like you see some of these athletes. He dominates a lot of these athletes and finishes most of them. He's probably the most well-rounded grappler in the world in terms of especially just the pure jiu-jitsu. The wrestling, I still think his wrestling is quite good, although the kind of unorthodox, still quite good. But yeah, let's talk about Josh here. I mean, Josh, he's only had one match internationally, as far as I know, the Felipe Pena match.
Yeah.
Mainly known in the Australian scene. I mean, he's one of, if not the best Australian grappler in a lot of people's minds. Josh, let's touch on Josh. Why is Josh deemed as the best Australian grappler?
First saw this guy at a New South Wales ADCC Open maybe 2 years ago. We saw him sitting amongst the guys from Sydney West. At the time, he was unknown, and I was with my dad, and we both noticed that mountain kneeling on the ground, still taller than everyone else. And we're like, wow, who is this? We really want to watch that guy. Because we were already a fan of Sydney West at the time.
Yeah.
What happened was he did the comp, dominated everyone. Other top guys from Sydney West, Curtis Martin, Mark Grayson, smashed everyone. From then, he had his Subversion debut, and he became a standout star in Australia immediately. Already, people were calling for him to fight the best top black belts.
Yeah.
Let's say Dan Schwartz has beaten him multiple times. Anton Manenko, Harry Kimura. He's beaten all the guys. Uros Sulik.
Yeah.
He's beaten the guys that people were saying would be the one to kill his hype train. Beat all of them.
Yeah.
This is within a process of 1 to 2 years. It's already overtaken everyone else.
It's quite impressive. I mean, he is an outstanding athlete. I mean, let's just talk about like the genetics of the guy. He's huge. He's a proper heavyweight. You see a lot of the time in MMA and both in jiu-jitsu, these heavyweights, they're 120 kilos, but their body fat percentage is not that of an athlete, right? That's not the case with Josh. He's big, he's lean, he's strong, he's an athlete, he moves quite well, and I think he does a good job of trying to understand the technical side of jiu-jitsu and not just muscle his way through everything. So he's doing everything he can. I respect the work ethic of the guy, and he's obviously at a good gym with a good head coach in Luke. You like you said, he's dominated everyone in the Australian scene pretty much. I'd say the guy that's maybe the closest there with him is a guy like Tito, who's at the most recent trials probably gave him his toughest match. The trials before the most recent one, sorry. Yeah, so I think Josh is definitely a big staple name in Australia. He hasn't had much. I mean, he's had one match literally against Felipe Pena where he lost. He lost I think 7-0. Pena took his back and swept him, took his back.
I think he passed his guard.
Passed him, took his back if I remember correctly. but that is Felipe Pena, who's one of the best in the world. The issue is he's going up against the actual best guy in the world now, right?
Yeah.
But I think let's kind of move on to now. What does this mean for the athletes taking the match? I feel like for Josh, it's just, I mean, who doesn't want to take a match against the best guy in the world? Have a main event as your debut on who's number one, get competition experience against the best guy in the world and get to feel that. You saw this kind of similar with Jacob Couch, kind of having that, and it looks like it's paid off for him. He's now gone on and won trials. Is this Josh, like, what does this match mean for Josh? Why do you think it's smart for him to take this match?
I think this kind of match is really the best thing for your longevity. So we see it on a smaller scale with people who maybe compete a lot locally, say win blue belt competitions or whatever, and then they decide to try to pursue world championships. They go and their first exposure at worlds, they might lose, maybe they do well, but it's always fantastic for their longevity. It's really that exposure and desire to match the highest level. So the athletes that go and choose to try to pursue the best always have remarkable improvement in their jiu-jitsu for their longevity. I've fought a person in a competition who was a child prodigy who would beat everyone a lot, went to worlds, got kind of smoked, and now as soon as that one event happened, he's gone and increased his skill. I don't know if I'd be able to beat him again at this point.
Yeah.
That brought to the highest degree with a match with Gordon Ryan. He's already had that match with Felipe Pena.
Yeah.
That would have improved him a lot. It's really one of the most important things you can do for your longevity.
Yeah.
Chasing those giants.
Yeah, I agree completely. What about Gordon? Why is he taking this match? What's kind of his incentive to take this? Because I feel like Gordon, especially with who's number one in flow, he kind of picks what's going to happen. He picks the rule set. He picks the opponent.
Yeah. I think something really interesting about this match is that it's only a 15-minute match.
Yeah.
And so the narrative going into this is Gordon's coming back from one of his many prolonged retirements.
Yeah.
We're seeing how he's going to be able to compete in the lead up to ADCC. He obviously wants to do that. He's fighting Yuri and Felipe at ADCC. And so I think Saunders, being a genuine heavyweight, is going to be one of the best preparations for that kind of physicality.
Yeah.
Saunders he comes from rugby, which in my opinion is the best breeding ground for true athletes, paired with his really autistic mind. So he's going to be be using valid techniques that Gordon will respect. So he's chosen a match against someone that he knows will be a good competitor.
Yeah. Let's move on to the actual match now. I mean, what do we think? What do we think Saunders can actually implement from his game onto Gordon? Is there any part? Because to me, honestly, in my opinion, I think that Gordon can beat him anywhere, and when I mean anywhere, I mean on the feet anywhere. I think he has a potential to take him down. I think he has the potential to pull guard and submit him on the legs. I definitely think he has the potential to pass him. I mean, do you see what part of Josh's game do you feel like he can actually implement onto Gordon?
I've done a lot of deliberation about this. When the match was first announced, I was immediately strategizing, like, what path would the really cerebral coach Luke Martin have thought would be the way to have success. I think really it's going to depend on what Gordon chooses to do, whether he chooses to wrestle or pull.
Yeah.
I think the best strategy for success, unfortunately, don't kill me, Saunders, is for Saunders to stall out a decision based on initiations. If he can keep Gordon down, maybe he can wrestle enough for Gordon to want to pull because it's a short time limit match, and then kind of stall on the feet, just threatening passing, like that kind of.
You got to make it way. Yeah, because I think even Saunders knows that Gordon obviously has an advantage in experience and just overall technical understanding, having done jiu-jitsu much longer, that he's going to have to make it dirty. He's going to have to change it up, use the rule set to his advantage. That's literally, he's not going to beat Gordon on just jiu-jitsu head-to-head. He's got way too much technique on him. Gordon himself is also... People around the Australian team have been saying to me, like, oh, like Saunders is... has Gordon ever faced someone this big? Yes, he has. His first round was against Hiki, who's literally the biggest man maybe on earth. And he's a Greco-Roman wrestler, so... He has an insane wrestling understanding. He's not an easy guy to move around. Gordon arm drag, took his back and submitted him in a couple minutes. Like, Gordon is just, he has an answer for everyone. And these guys, trust me, like, Jordan's chosen Josh. You know what I mean? He chose this match. He knows this opponent. He knows his game. John knows his game well. So I do think it is a big mountain for Josh to climb. Obviously, he knows that. And I think, like, having watched his interviews recently, he has a lot of respect for Gordon, obviously, and understands that this is going to be the toughest match you can literally have in the world. But I just think that overall, like, Josh understands that, and he has a lot to gain from this match, like we said before, in terms of after the match, uh, the experience him getting, and then going into ADCC and maybe being able to pick up a win in his first match. I think this also might change depending if Gordon does the division or not. But imagine he does. I don't imagine Mo would give Josh Gordon again.
Yeah, no, Mo does kind of choose the brackets to be more entertaining with the fans.
Exactly. So that would be interesting to see. Okay, if it's not Gordon, who will it be?
Yeah.
For that first round matchup, it might be Victor Hugo. I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I know Luke Martin told me that they're going to be training at Roka again in the lead up to ADCC.
Yeah.
And I think he said that publicly as well.
Yeah.
That really would also then depend on whether Mo considers that to be them teammates or not. He might put them second round. But yeah, I definitely don't think Saunders will be against Gordon first round at ADCC.
Yeah, definitely not. Let's talk about the what a win means for each of these athletes after the match finishes. So let's say Gordon gets a win. What does it mean for him?
Well, every time Gordon competes, there's always so much attention brought to whatever he did in the match. He knows this, and that's why he competes. He knows what he's doing with. Yeah. How can I really show off what I'm doing right now? He did that against Patrick Gaudio.
Yeah.
After that match, everyone was copying the passing he was doing in that match. Everyone studied it. Yeah. Obviously, Lesson Press more involved, studied that extensively. Yeah. That will definitely happen as a result of whatever happens in the match. Yeah. I really think, like, the narrative going into this, now that Gordon's just posted a new guillotine instructional, people are probably thinking that's going to be it. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's a possibility that Gordon is trying to hit a snap down to a front headlock. Yeah. Maybe heist from a bottom position. Yeah. Yeah, he's going in there to promote whatever he's doing.
Exactly. And I think that it's actually something I wanted to touch on quickly is, like you just said, Gordon has this almost like mystique about him where whatever he does, people will just flock to it like birds and just try and copy exactly what he's doing. Sometimes I honestly think if these guys put out like the wrong techniques on purpose so that people like they're heading off in the wrong direction, because like I love Gordon. I think he's obviously extremely technical, but especially me as a lighter person, I try and copy some of the lighter weight divisions in general. But just watching people just come in and just try and copy everything Gordon's doing, I'm like, man, I always think like maybe he's like teaching or doing the wrong shit on purpose. Because Gordon, like, I guess some of these athletes, like say Patrick Gaudio, all due respect, he has such a big gap on him. He could do whatever he wants in that match and probably have success, So, it's interesting to see. But let's talk about Saunders now. A win for him. I mean, like, what would this do for Saunders? I think it's like, if Saunders gets a win in this match, obviously it would just be, especially, imagine he submitted him. It would be just... It would break jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's kind of notorious. Gordon isn't exactly loved in the jiu-jitsu community for his kind of persona. He kind of knows that himself and kind of markets that himself. I just think that all hell would break loose. Like, it would just be... Josh Saunders would become, overnight, the most worshipped and loved grappler in all of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely true. Obviously, in the aftermath of, say, that hypothetical result, Saunders would be very humble.
Of course.
But he definitely would still be a target. I know a lot of high level grapplers would see that hole that he's exposing Gordon and now want to call out Saunders so that they can beat him and claim that kind of vicarious victory over Gordon.
Exactly.
But also, what that would mean is everyone would now be studying that as a blueprint for how to defeat the king. Yeah, exactly. So really, I do think that as much as Saunders would get his deserved praise, most of the focus, if Gordon were to lose that match, would be on him himself. It would be a lot of hatred to Gordon, everything like that. Yeah. Saunders would handle it well, and he would become marketable and respected by everyone. But that's by way of his personality.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even someone like Felipe Pena, I feel like he beats Gordon twice, and you're right. The narrative is more Gordon lost than Felipe won. I mean, like, Felipe took his back twice with the same sort of wedging back take from Saddle, and I feel like if Gordon did that to Felipe, everyone would study that technique instantly. I know it was a while ago, 2017, and the match before that, even prior, but You don't see anyone copying Felipe Pena fucking back takes. You know what I mean? Even though, in my opinion, like Felipe, I'm biased. He's one of my favorite grapplers ever. No one's copying Felipe Pena back takes. You know what I mean? Even though, but everything Gordon does, and I know after this match as well, everyone's gonna be fucking swamping it for him. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's it for the Gordon and Josh match. We're kind of giving our opinions on that. We'll quickly touch on. We'll just give a quick summary of the new matches that have been added to the Who's Number One since we did the last chat. DeAndre Corbett, Ethan Krellenstein. Give a quick opinion on that match.
Yeah, so I've spoken about this a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really one of those things of Deandre Corbett has been failing to make it to the highest level for a couple of years now, always on the cusp of greatness.
Yeah.
Here he had his standout performance in trials. People are now thinking, is this it?
Yeah.
It's possible. We have no idea yet how he's going to perform at ADCC, but it's a genuine possibility that this has been the moment where he's surpassed that kind of gatekeeper barrier and he's now one of the greatest in the division.
Yeah.
I think Ethan Krellenstein, full respect to him, I like his style, but he always loses to the top guys in his division, except for one match against Mauricio Andre, which was fantastic. But that was one sequence of techniques in a row where he had real good success from a wrestle up into a back take straight away.
Yeah.
After that match, Fabricio Andre immediately shook his head in disappointment. I feel like he knows he should be able to beat Ethan, and I think that's kind of what applies to the best in the division most of the time.
Yeah.
If DeAndre is broken out, then he wins that match.
Yeah.
We don't really know how good he is yet, though.
Yeah, it's a good, like you said, I feel like it's a good match to see where DeAndre's at. He's already proven that, he won trials and that it's, he is a big name going to ADCC. I will say that, I am biased a little bit. Ethan, again, he's one of my favorite grapplers. I think that Ethan is being undervalued a little bit here, and I feel like you're right, he does lose to that next tier, and I don't think he's at that next tier yet of the Pato, Diego Hayes, Gabriel Souza, Fabricio Andre. I don't think he's just there yet, even though he has a win over Fabricio. You're right, he did kind of have a couple good sequences, and he got to the best spot. I mean, I don't know many people in the world that if Ethan gets on their back, he's not going to finish them. He has probably the pound some of the best back attacks in the world. But I think that Ethan is very game, and I think is one of the best grapplers at 66. His style in general allows for people to get things on him. And though that next tier of guys, the guys like Pato, Diego Hayes, these guys, when they get to certain spots, they don't lose those spots. They take and they don't give back. Ethan's a guy that likes to give, take, give, take, give, take. He'll give something to get something. But those guys, they are so high level that when they get to those spots, Ethan gives something, they don't give anything back. They just take that thing and go with it. I feel, however, DeAndre, he's quite young in this sport, and he's still developing much. I think he's going to get wrapped up in that game of Ethan's where he's giving and taking, and Ethan's going to win a scramble, maybe get to the back, maybe pass into a dominant position and win it from there. I've got Ethan winning it. I think he's a little bit too much for DeAndre right now. Maybe in a year or two's time it could be different, but I am going to go with Ethan. Quickly now go on to the next match. I'm trying to think. Oh, Jacob Couch, Jonatas Gracie. This is, in my opinion, a much closer match than what we had before with the Francisco Lowe Jacob Couch match. I think Jacob Couch, I had at least as the favorite for that one. I think you did as well. This match, however, it is a step up for Jacob. I think it's definitely a tougher match. But what are your thoughts on the match and how you think this one plays out?
So this year, Jonatas Gracie has been looking absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I actually pick him to win ADCC based on how his performance has been.
Wow.
But
that would be awesome.
If anyone can beat him stylistically, I think it's Couch. So the reason I've been picking Gracie to win ADCC is he had that performance against Nicky Ryan out wrestling him on the feet. We know Nicky Ryan doesn't always perform as well as he could, but that's one aspect of his game that's seemingly the best in the world, let's say. Then he had a match with Levi. I think Levi won that match because I'm biased because I train under Sensei Lucas. Yeah. But really, he knew how to deal with let's say, the best guard attacks in the world. Yeah. And then we watched him against J-Rod. He conceded the wrestling played bottom position, and his guard play in that match is some of the best to study. He's playing Keymaster, utilizing inside spins. He did a Barambola to a Ashigarami. He is amazing in that match. Yeah. So I favor him technically going into ADCC. Yeah. But the way Jacob Couch plays with his, he kind of plays a bit old school with his knee shield, half guard, leg entries to a cross ashi.
Yeah.
I believe that's the style to beat the sort of passing that Jonatas Gracie does. He was beating Oliver Taza with a lot of physicality.
Yeah.
I think Jacob's going to be able to match that physicality based on size. Taza's a bit small.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone can
That's
kind
a
of
good
upset
match.
Gracie, it's going to be Couch. I still favor Gracie to win ADCC though.
Yeah. That's a good match to kind of look at in terms of the trajectory of how this match can go. That you just said the Oliver Taza match. Jonatas used a wedging back take in that match, I believe, to take Oliver's back. I feel like you're right. I was actually looking last night at Jonatas' record, and I think in the past 20 matches, he's only lost 1 or 2. He's on an insane run. He's doing a lot of no-gi most recently, and I wasn't actually thinking of him doing so well at ADCC, but now that you've said it, I'm kind of like, actually, you know what? I can definitely see that happening. He's a game guy. He's the most, I know it's not jiu-jitsu related, but he's the most gangster-looking motherfucker I've ever seen.
Terrifying. I've seen him in person at Tough Roll.
Yeah,
Scary.
he looks, and I train with some guys that have trained at Atos and are close with Jonatas, and they've said that he's just the most loveliest guy. He doesn't look how he is. To me, it looks like he's riding the Mexican drug cartel, but he's actually one of the nicest guys in jiu-jitsu, apparently. So, yeah, shout out to Jonatas. I think in terms of this match, I just think that Jacob Couch, he's going to struggle with the passing of Jonatas. He has some of the most. You were talking about his guard play in the J-Rod match, which is very impressive. But for me, I've always kind of looked at him as he's a well-rounded grappler, but his passing to me has always been extremely impressive. In the gi especially, he has very, very strong ability to pass the guard. And I just think that Jacob is going to struggle a little bit to entangle the legs. And I think he's a bit too physical. You see that in the Isaac match, for example, against Jacob, he kind of got overwhelmed with physicality and the pressure that Isaac kind of put on him. And I feel like you're going to see a similar thing where Jonatas just kind of overwhelms him and eventually gets to a pass and wins that way, even possibly take his back and submit him. But I'm going to pick Jonatas. Who are you going to pick?
I do pick Jonatas, yeah.
Jonatas, yeah. All right, awesome. And the last match we'll talk about is the Victor Hugo. What was his replacement?
Victor pulled out. Yeah, who? I don't know.
The fuck is this guy?
You need to add this.
So, Victor Hugo versus Javier Zaruski. All due respect to Javier. I did not know who this guy was prior to this. He won
the no-gi world champion.
No-gi black belt world champion. All due respect, man. He looks like a tough motherfucker. I had no idea who this guy was, and I forgot that he was having this match with Victor to begin with. I think it's fair to say I have Victor winning this match. I mean, it seems like a wash.
What year did he win?
I have no clue. I'll quickly check. I'll look at his Instagram.
So Victor Hugo, he also won
black belt worlds. Interesting. Okay, we'll have a look here. No-gi world champion. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. He's a big motherfucker. He won 2023.
Yeah. So the most recent.
Yeah.
I believe Victor Hugo took out that no-gi worlds as well in the open weight team. Oh no, it was Roberto Jimenez.
Yeah, Roberto Jimenez.
Yeah, Hugo didn't do it.
Yeah, I think he has a win over Devontae Johnson. This guy, obviously a tough guy, but I think Victor Hugo, especially the most recent couple events, he seems like he's just on another level. He's beaten Nicky Rod recently. I think currently he's just gone into the CGI Invitational. He kind of looks to be one of the favorites for the plus 80 division. Yeah, Victor Hugo, I think it's just going to be a kind of a clean win for him, probably by submission. No offense, Javier.
Yeah, I had Victor winning the initial match against Luke Griffith.
Exactly, so did I.
Still have Victor Hugo winning this.
Yeah, we'll keep that one short. But yeah, thanks guys.